After the module, you will be able to know the various management theories, learn about the classical approach to management, identify the various behavioral approaches to management, know about the management science approach, and also will be able to know the contemporary approach to management. You see, the word management has several definitions, and hence there is no universally accepted definition of this term. Over the years, many management styles have evolved. Some got changed, some adapted to new environment, and some became redundant with the passage of time. In this module, we shall discuss the various theories of management and their evolution with time. Now, let us first talk about the classical approach. In classical approach to management, the management theorists focused on the organizational and controlling skills of the managers. According to them, the manager's role is to organize and control the workforce in order to achieve the organizational goal. The first which comes to my mind is the scientific management. Frederick Winslow Taylor is called the father of industrial engineering and scientific management. He was the one who propounded scientific management theory. According to him, skilled labor was in short supply in America. Therefore, to expand the labor productivity and efficiency, ways and means had to be found. He found certain factors that were impeding the efficiency and productivity of laborers. These factors were as follows: cutting of incentive rates by the employers, output restriction by employees, which was called soldering, poor methods of training, lack of standardization, and lack of cooperation between management and workers. Hence, Taylor provided a scientific basis for designing and performing jobs. He replaced rule of thumb methods by scientific methods. He designed the best possible way of doing work for the workers. So, instead of each worker doing his job in his own way, was now to follow a sequence of steps to accomplish the task. Hence, there were now standardized steps to be followed by each and every worker. In order to improve the workers' productivity on the shop floor, Taylor conducted motion studies and came out with the following suggestions. 1. Introduction of differential piece rate system. And 2. Employers to pay more to workers whose productivity was higher. During his lifespan, Taylor conducted 4 experiments, which were experiments of Midvale, experiments at the Bethlehem Steel Company, shoveling experiments, and the metal cutting experiments. All these experiments led to the following principles. 1. Use of scientific method in the practice of management. 2. Employees to be selected on the basis of scientific approaches. 3. Employees to be given scientific education and training for their development. And 4. Encourage coordination and cooperation between management and workers. According to Taylor, scientific management was a philosophy of management rather than a mechanism of management. His philosophy was based on 13 objectives, which are as follows. Eliminate environmental factors that obstruct worker productivity and create friction between management and workers. Next, eliminate discrimination in wage rate for workers. Next, provide ethical code of conduct for workers. Next was develop self-expression and self-realization among workers. The other was develop self-confidence and self-respect among workers. Next, provide training to workers for their development. Next, provide workers with good working condition. Next, use scientific methods for assignment of work, transfer and promotion of workers. Next, assure a higher standard of living to workers by increasing their income. Next, assure happier home and social life to the workers. Next, increase income and productivity by following a waste saving management and processing technique. Next, provide every worker with earning opportunity while on the payroll. And lastly, gauge the industrial environment and market to adjust the internal operations in order to conserve investment and assure continuous operation and employment. Max Weber, who was a German social scientist and a teacher by profession, gave the principles of ideal bureaucracy. He described an ideal organization as one that would be perfectly rational and would provide maximum efficiency of operation. According to him, an organization structure should be characterized by the following features. 1. Tasks to be divided into specialized jobs. Next, permanency of tenure to the employees, which means lifelong employment and hence security of job. Next, employment and promotion of employees to be done only on merit and competency. Next, rules and regulations to be followed rigorously in task performance to avoid inefficiency and uncertainty. Next, authority to be hierarchical with clear authority responsibility relationship. Next, clear and specific qualification requirements for each job. Next, impersonal attitude of superiors towards their subordinates. Next, providing written rules and regulations and maintaining of files. Weber viewed bureaucracy as an ideal type of management style because of its advantages. According to him, the advantages which a bureaucratic setup gave in an organization was precision, speed, unambiguity, continuity, discretion, unity, knowledge of files, strict subordination, and reduction of friction between employees. However, few management thinkers like Warren Bennis have criticized the theory of bureaucracy on the following basis. They have criticized bureaucracy 1. Due to rigid adherence to the rules and regulations, there is hardly any scope for original thinking and innovation. Second reason they have given is due to hierarchical authority, the communication process between employees becomes slow and distorted, and also there is no scope for informal and impersonal relationship between employees working in the organization. The third criticism was the theory was criticized due to the possibility of substitution of means with ends. Too much emphasis on rules as a means for running a bureaucratic system sometimes found to be an end in itself. This unintended consequences became its biggest disadvantage. Now, we talk about another theory which is called the administrative management theory. During the same time as F.W. Taylor, another management thinker by the name of Henry Fayol was investigating managerial behavior in organizations in France. While Taylor's scientific management was concerned with increasing the productivity of the management at the shop level, Fayol's management theory focused on the activities of managements at all levels of management. His theory was called the administrative management theory. According to him, the activities of an industrial organization could be divided into 6 categories, which are as follows. Technical, which means production and manufacturing. Commercial, which means buying and selling. Financial, which is acquiring capital and using it. security, protection of people and property of the organization, accounting, which is maintaining of financial accounts like balance sheet, cost accounts, etc. And lastly, managerial, which is the role of a manager like planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. Henry Fayol developed 14 principles of management, which were like lighthouses for managerial thinking. The 14 principles of management were division of work, authority, discipline, unity of command, unity of direction, subordination of individual interests to the general interests, equity, stability of tenure of personnel, initiative, remuneration, centralization, scalar chain, order, and esprit de corps. According to Fayol, management was not a personal talent but a skill which could be learnt. He did not believe in the traditional view that managers are born, not made. He thought that people can be made managers by imparting managerial skills to them. Also, according to him, management was generic in nature, which meant that it was applicable in all types of organizations, whether it be schools, colleges, military, or banks. He also said that all managers perform the same managerial functions irrespective of their level in the organization. Now, after discussing the classical approach to management theory, we now come to the behavioral approach. The classical thinkers like Taylor, Weber, and Fayol considered people working in organizations as machines and assumed that they can be easily motivated by financial incentives. They emphasized on factors like rationality, impersonality, technical competence, bureaucracy, and predictability, and totally ignored the behavioral aspect of people. We shall now be discussing various behavioral theories which originated over the time. Let's first talk about the early advocates. The early advocates of behavioral approach to management were Mary Parker Follett and Chester I. Bernard. Follett was a social philosopher who gave the following principles to management thought. 1. Constructive conflict. Conflict is generally taken as a negative term, but according to Follett, conflict provides challenges to employees working in an organization. Here, conflicts are considered to be constructive because to resolve the conflict, the employees use their abilities and talents and undertake activities with full interest and zest in order to solve the conflict. Second is law of the situation. People working in organizations should not give orders to each other. Instead, they should take orders from the situation. The third principle was group ethic important. Superiors and subordinates working together in an organization should view themselves as partners and so should work in coordination and harmony. Hence, the organization should be based on group ethic rather than individualism. The next principle was leadership. The superiors should act like leaders who understand the importance of group activity and try to integrate the efforts of all to serve a common purpose. The next principle was authority and responsibility. According to Follett, authority belongs to a job and not an individual. Individuals come and go, but the authority related with the position and the task remains the same. The last principle which she gave was coordination principle. According to Follett, coordination is a principle which is all pervasive. It is a continuous process which precedes all other functions. Chester I. Bernard was a practitioner and a social thinker. According to him, organizations are social systems that require human cooperation, and without cooperation, organizations cannot succeed. Hence, the success of any organization depends on the manager's ability to obtain cooperation from his employees. Bernard introduced the concept of informal organization, status and communication. According to him, the management must regard itself as the provider of fair wages and security for its employees and provide an atmosphere conducive for their growth and development. The next behavioral approach theory is called the Hawthorne Studies. In 1927, Teufelsberger and some others initiated experiments at the Hawthorne plant of Western Electric Company, whose primary goal was to study the human dimensions of organizations. After completing the experiments, Elton Mayo, a Harvard psychologist, was invited to examine its outcome. The outcome were as follows. Workers' attitude towards their managers affect the level of their performance. The manager's behavior and his leadership style affects the worker's performance. Organization is a social system and therefore human factor is the most important element in an organization. Happy employees are more productive than unhappy employees. Group standards are more effective in establishing individual worker output. Instead of monetary incentives, it is the group standards, group sentiments, and job security that affect positively the productivity of workers. Next, we are going to talk about the organizational behavior theory. Thinkers like Douglas McGregor, Rensis Likert, and Chris Argyris brought a new dimension to the behavioral approach to management. McGregor propounded two contrasting set of administrative behavior called Theory X and Theory Y. According to Theory X, employees are motivated by the lower level needs, whereas in Theory Y, employees are motivated by higher level needs. Rensis Likert said that the traditional job-centered supervision is responsible for low productivity and poor morale of the employees. He stressed on the employee-centered approach, which focused on employee participation in setting up goals and in making decisions. Likert also gave 4 management styles, which are as follows. 1. Exploitative autocratic style. In this style, the managers or leaders have no confidence in their subordinates, hence they make decisions on their own. For example, while dealing with the worker class, the floor manager may use his style of management, which means that he will not take the opinion of the workers in any kind of decision which he would be making in running the floor or in manufacturing the product. 2. Benevolent autocratic style. In this style, managers or leaders have a little confidence in their subordinates and hence may involve them in some decision making. Let's take an example. A finance manager may take the opinion of his accountant in decisions regarding financial matters. The third style is called the participative style. In this style, the managers or leaders have substantial confidence in their subordinates. Hence, subordinates are involved in decision making which affects them directly. For example, the CEO may involve the various departmental managers in taking decisions regarding the expansion of the firm. And the last type of style is called the democratic style. In this style, the managers or leaders have full faith and confidence in their subordinates and hence involve them in decision making. For example, the CEO may leave the decision of adding a new product to the existing product line to his production and marketing manager. According to Likert, the fourth, that is the democratic style of management, is the most effective style of management. It increases productivity, lower costs, and creates cordial relationship between labor and management. Chris Argyris, another social scientist and a thinker, gave an maturity model of personality. According to him, the traditional hierarchical form of organization creates passive and dependent employees who like to work in subordination to their bosses or managers. According to him, to improve the confidence and productivity of the employees, more responsibility, authority and control should be given to them. We have already discussed the classical approach and the behavioral approach. Let's now go down to the third kind, which is called the management science approach. Management science approach is a contemporary approach to management which focuses on quantitative techniques to help managers make maximum use of organizational resources to produce goods and services. The following are some types of management science approach. Let's see what they are. 1. Quantitative management. Quantitative management is also known as operation research, which uses mathematical and statistical techniques in decision making. The tools are generally used by the managers in deciding about the various aspects of production and manufacturing. It helps in maximizing production by lowering cost and wastage. Next is the total quality management. Total quality management is involved with analyzing an organization's input, its conversion into output, and various activities that increase the quality of the output or the product. The main aim of the management is to continuously improve the quality of the product in response to the customer's needs and expectations. The third is the management information system. Management information system is one of the most contemporary form of management style. Here the managers provide information pertaining to organization both internally as well as externally. They keep updating the information which helps in making organizational decisions more accurately and correctly. Now, we come to the fourth type of approach, which is called the contemporary approach. According to the contemporary approach to management, the organization is viewed as an adaptive system which should adapt itself with the changing external environment if it wishes to survive and sustain itself in the market. Here the organization and the external environment are seen as interdependent. They depend on each other for resources. The organization depends on the external environment for resources like technology, capital, human resource and raw material. The external environment, on the other hand, depends on the organization for products and services, employment generation and upgradation of technology, research and development and innovative goods and services. We shall now be discussing the two contemporary approaches to management. The first is called the system approach. The systems approach to management refers to the process that is involved in converting inputs into outputs. It talks about three kinds of inputs, namely human resources, material resources and financial resources. The system approach considers organization to be a part of an open system. There are two types of system, closed system and open system. A closed system is a self-contained system that is not affected by its external environment. whereas an open system is one which interacts with its external environment. In reality, a closed system no longer exists. Any organization which wants to survive has to function as an open system. Hence, every organization in today's world is a part of an open system. Thus, the organization takes resources like land, labor, capital and raw material from its external environment and then converts them into goods and services that are again used by the external environment in the form of customers or buyers. Hence, in systems approach, the management's role is seen as that of a transformer who transforms resources obtained from the external environment into output. The next approach is under the contemporary approach is called the contingency approach. According to the contingency approach, there is no one best way of managing the organization. Hence, there cannot be one best management style. Different organizational settings and circumstances require different management approaches. The traditional approach to management, which is the structural approach or the mechanistic approach, is best suited to organizations which have stable external environment, which require repetitive tasks and require low employee expertise. On the other hand, the employee-centered approach or the organic approach is well suited for organizations which have unstable external environment, have non-repetitive tasks and require highly qualified and trained employees. The contingency approach advocates that there is no one best way to manage the organization. The kind of management style or approach used by managers depends on the nature of the external environment in which the organization is operating. How the managers lead, control and organize their subordinates depends entirely on the situation created by the external environment. Hence, they may use the traditional approach or the behavioral approach or maybe a combination of both depending on the circumstances originated within the organization due to the influence of its external environment. So you see friends, we have just talked about the various kind of management approaches. We have talked about the traditional approach, the behavioral approach and also the contingency approach. And nowadays mostly organizations follow the contingency approach because the environment is so very volatile and dynamic.